Good afternoon, and thank you for taking part in the National Kickoff webinar for Crash Responder Safety Week. This webinar will commence in a minute. The webinar is hosted by the Federal Highway Administration and supported by the National Operations Center of Excellence. The FHWA welcomes participants to enter their name and association in the chat box. For this webinar, all participant lines have been muted. Please note that while we will not be supporting a Q&A for this webinar, feel free to reach out to the Federal Highway Administration's Traffic Incident Management Program team with questions. Their information is available in the chat pod, and feel free to share your name and organization again in the chat pod to greet your fellow participants. Next slide. Towards the close of this webinar, participants will have the opportunity to sign the online National Crash Responder Safety Week proclamation using the Menti link provided in the chat box or using the QR code on this slide. Next. Please take a moment to review the Federal Highway Administration disclaimers, which explain that the contents of this presentation are intended only to provide information. The U.S. government does not endorse products or manufacturers, and trademarks or manufacturers' names are not intended to reflect a preference, approval, or endorsement of any one product or entity. And the views and opinions expressed in this presentation are the presenters and do not necessarily reflect those of the Federal Highway Administration or the U.S. Department of Transportation. Next. The host for this Crash Responder Safety Week National Kickoff webinar is Kevin Sylvester, Acting Director of Operations with the FHWA Office of Operations. Kevin is responsible for developing and executing national policies and program initiatives to facilitate the safe and efficient operation of the Surface Transportation Program, including the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices for Streets and Highways. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my sincere privilege to welcome our traffic incident response community to the 2024 Crash Responder Safety Week National Kickoff webinar. This is year 9 for this important Federal Highway Administration sponsored initiative, supported by our United States Department of Transportation modal partners, Traffic Incident Management Executive Leadership Group, and the Crash Responder Safety Week National Planning Committee. Crash Responder Safety Week is a week where we can focus our collective voices on the safety of traffic incident responders and, through their efforts, the safety of all road users. Today, we celebrate our National Traffic Incident Management, or TIM, professionals. These are our fellow law enforcement, fire and rescue, emergency medical service, public safety, public works, towing and recovery, safety service patrol, 911 communicators, and the broader transportation community. We hold this National Kickoff webinar each year to rally our responder community to engage in promoting Crash Responder Safety Week within our ranks, with our leadership, with governmental elected officials, and among the public at large. And over the next hour or so, we feature responders and practitioners that will touch on key messaging and resources for this week, as well as proven yet underutilized tools, technologies, and practices that improve responder and road user safety. Some of you may note on our agenda that the flow of presenter topics from 120 to 140 aligns with Crash Responder Safety Week Day of Week themes. More on this from our Crash Responder Safety Week Day of Week theme and resources presenter, Jim Ostrich. As the host, I have one responsibility to introduce the exceptional set of individuals that I have no doubt will move each of us to become Crash Responder Safety Week advocates and champions. And with that, I'm very pleased to introduce the first exceptional individual with us today to officially kick off Crash Responder Safety Week, Kristen White, the Federal Highway Administration's acting administrator. Kristen is a transportation and mobility executive and strategic thought leader, ensuring that our infrastructure investments are safe, sustainable, equitable, and look to the future. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to our partners at the NOCO and the National Operations Center of Excellence. This is such an important time of year, everyone. My name is Kristen White. I'm the acting administrator. And like many of you, I have been involved in TIM and operations for a long period in my transportation career, because we all know on this call, on this webinar together, we can only save lives together in partnership. So I just want to take a few moments and share my gratitude to you all who remind us that Crash Responder Safety Week is a critical week, but just one of 52 weeks each year that we need to be thinking about our very important professionals that are on our roads day in and day out, from first responders and police and State Department of Transportation officials to healthcare providers, to EMTs and medical services, and of course to our tow and recovery and crash responders. All of those people and you all make a community that allow us to focus on our vision of Vision Zero Safety, to eliminate every traffic fatality on our road here and into the future. I want to just share a few remarks about this year's Crash Responder Awareness Safety event this week. Now, in 2016, we were able to start this week because we knew we needed to focus on this message. Those of us that are in this space as TIM professionals, operations professionals, and others, we know the importance of messaging like move over, slow down, and stay alert. But you all, through the TIM training we have provided, which is over 750,000 out of the 1.4 million across our country that are dedicating their lives to this work, you are all joining us in this investment to learn about this work, communicate it, and really amplify the message and live and walk the walk of safety culture. I want to thank all of us, including our Federal Highway Administration team and our Moto partners who are developing TIM trainings. And later this week on Wednesday, we are signing a proclamation reinvigorating the public-private partnership to promote that training and other resources across the country to ensure that we are efficiently and safely delivering services. As I close my thoughts, I just want to thank everyone and all of your partnerships. As the past 3 years, we have invested under the bipartisan infrastructure law an enormous amount of investment. Over $108 billion has been poured into our roads and bridges across the country. And as our team and this TIM team reminds us, every project is a safety project. And every single one of those projects with over 200,000 miles of roads and 10,000 bridges is another reminder that these are infrastructure assets that we need to invest in so that we can keep folks safe, because you shouldn't have to risk your life to keep us safe when we are trying to get home and to our jobs. So with that, I do want to thank you all. This is a month of gratitude. Next week, we are celebrating Thanksgiving, and I could not be more thankful to be a part of this humble community that every day wakes up and commits your lives as volunteers and civil servants to help keep us safe and remind us what crash responder safety really looks like in the TIM community. With that, I am really honored to hand it over to my colleague, Jim Ostrick, who is the Federal Highways TIM Program Manager. Jim, thank you for all you do, and let us continue this celebration and event today.
Thank you, Acting Administrator White. Thank you for your service and all you do for highway safety across all our nation's roadways. You're spot on with all your comments, and we can't thank you enough for participating and helping us kick off this incredible week of Crash Responder Safety Week. So here you see the proclamation, ladies and gentlemen. It's so wonderful to see over 260 practitioners and others joining us here today. Our proclamations are a very big deal, as a lot of you know, and we push hard to get more and more of them done, whether they're governor, mayoral, or other organization entities that produce a proclamation. So thank you so much. These are the areas, the bullets that are committed to the proclamation this year, and that later on here today we're going to be able to all participate and sign this proclamation. Next slide. So again, my name is Jim Ostrich. Most of you know me. I want to do a shout out to my fellow program managers, Paul Joden and Joe Tebow, that could not join us today. but are integral to the success of the Traffic Incident Management Program Office across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. Next slide. The committees that we had that was developed or organized, I want to say 3 years ago now or 4 years ago now, are comprised of the associations that you see here to the right, and many of them are on with us today. And a big shout out to all of them, because without them, all the work that we do to educate and do outreach to the public about the importance of traffic incident management, line of duty deaths, etc., would not be possible. Next slide. So here you see a unified message in red: responder ahead, reduce your speed as you proceed. That is our theme this year. Most of you know this by now, but if you don't, this is a great opportunity during this week. And as Administrator White even said, you know, every day of the week we can promote the safety and work, honor actually the work that our responders do to ensure that all of us get to go home at night. Here you see the chronology of this week's themes, starting from the left today, our kickoff, and then driver education tomorrow, responder training, more than a crash on Thursday, and on Friday, slow down, move over. And we'll get into that a little bit more here shortly. Next slide. So Monday, here we are, and there's so many things that states do, organizations do, as I said, some new innovations to reach the public, whether it's in-person activities or social media. But these are just some of the things that you can do that we encourage you to do, obviously, and want you to do. The more the word gets out, the more we can one day get to that magic number of zero line of duty deaths. Next slide. Again, proclamations. You heard me mention this. This is a big deal. Obviously, with an election year and at least two major hurricanes and other natural disasters and whatnot, there has been a little bit of a downtick in proclamations, but we don't worry, because we know that the work that's being done out there is still very strong. And we thank all of you that have put together proclamations for 2024. I'll definitely give a shout out to Wisconsin alone, who has been very strong, and this year developed 22 mayoral and county executive proclamations for Wisconsin. Next slide. Tuesday, what do we do on Tuesday? Tuesday, and this is an area that's gaining more and more momentum. You're going to hear one of our presenters talk about the increasing engagement with our young drivers. So driver education is a big deal, and we need to pursue this every year, every day, actually, working with our Department of Motor Vehicles or Motor Vehicle Administrations, however you refer to them. Next slide. Wednesday, the training. We've had what we call mass trainings. States that have in advance set up mass training events during this week have set goals to train X number of responders in their state, and this continues on. The number above that you see there, 750,000, is a strong number, but we still have a ways to go. And so we ask you all to continue to participate and promote the National TIM Training Program. Next slide. Thursday, it's more than a crash. Here it's simply, this using social media or whatever media you choose. This is the day to explain what traffic management is and why it matters to the motoring public. Consider adding links and videos, testimonials, and like I said, other in-person events. And there are many strategies and tools that are out there that states employ. Next slide. Friday, slow down, move over. All 50 states, the District of Columbia and the District of Columbia have a move over law. If you might find it surprising, but a lot of our motorists, a lot of states, the motorists are unaware of what that move over law is. Yes, you heard me correctly. And so that is not acceptable. We need to educate our motorists, as I said, our young drivers, to understand what the move over laws are and the applicable. Some states have what we call driver removal, which is basically if there's no one injured or the injured have been transported off the scene of a crash, that drivers can on their own move the vehicles. So articles, you see the 2 bullets here. The messaging is the same. You've got to push and push and push to get this information out to the public. And we're prepared here at FHWA to support you in any way we can. Next slide. Be a Crash Responder Safety Week ally in action. I am now going to ask you, we're going to participate in a couple of Mentimeter exercises to capture information from you, as well as share information. And that's what this is all about. So if you would scan the QR code, and this is an area where your logo, different content materials, we look for you to share. And this is a very important piece of the webinar today, and there's going to be another one here shortly. Next slide. Who are just some of the current CRSW allies in action? This covers a number of them, but obviously there are many, many, many others. And the national roadway safety strategy that was signed by Secretary Buttigieg in January 22 has a lot to do with this, and states have bought into this and are participating, which is something we're very happy to see. So become an ally in action. Next slide. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague, Kevin Sylvester, to introduce our next presenter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you so much to the FHWA Transportation Incident Management Team, the FHWA Offices of Operations and Public Affairs, and the Crash Responder Safety Week National Planning Committee for making it easy for responders to promote Crash Responder Safety Week through social media and locally, potentially in person within their communities. Now I have the privilege to turn the floor over to Stephen Stinchcomb. Stephen is a highway operations technician and field operations supervisor with the Maryland Transportation Authority, the entity that manages toll roads in the state of Maryland. He has worked as a SSP professional for over 10 years and has the unique experience of being struck while assisting motorists in need four times. Stephen, please share with us your story and what you see turning the tide of responders struck by crashes. Over to you, Stephen. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Kevin, for the introduction. Again, my name is Stephen Stinchcomb. I'm a supervisor for Maryland Transportation Authority in the Baltimore region. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to go into one of the crashes that I believe is the most common that happens with emergency response technicians, or also known as SSPs. And again, excuse me, yeah, I was hit 4 times, drove by one car, but again, I'm just going to go into one of those incidences that, again, I believe is most common. Maryland 295 southbound to 195 eastbound going towards BWI. That day it was raining a little bit. We got a call for a single vehicle accident that slowed off the roadway. Not very uncommon to happen with the weather conditions, and in that particular spot is kind of dangerous. So we always send 2 units. Maryland State Police is there. We set up, the VMS signs, the advance warning. Once we get there in security area, my job is to make sure that everybody's all right, and then get the vehicle over to the shoulder. Pretty much standard procedure. Once we got everybody over to the shoulder, and EMS and fire did their thing with transporting the person, we were sitting there waiting for the tows. And typically when it's inclement weather, like raining or snow or something like that, I will usually sit behind the trooper just to give it some more advanced warning. Well, unfortunately, somebody just going a little bit too fast down the ramp slid right into the back of my truck with the trooper standing right at the passenger window of my patrol vehicle. And he was okay. I was a little sore for a few days, but again, it's just something that makes the job so dangerous that even when you do everything completely right, it doesn't matter how many lights you have, how many devices that you have, how many people you have on scene, all the lights in the world. It doesn't matter if somebody's not doing what they're doing or supposed to be doing by pay attention to the road, following the move over law. If they're reckless driving, if they're impaired, just not paying attention, the radio, whatever. Again, that's what makes our job so dangerous, and my employees' job so dangerous, is that, again, when we're doing everything right, it only takes one person not paying attention to, cause an accident and, potentially cause fatality or, serious injury. Um, and it doesn't just stop after the accident. Anytime that I hear, it doesn't matter if it's in the state of Maryland or a different different part of the country, it puts everybody on edge. It affects us. It affects our coworkers. It affects our families. We got to deal with that every time we go to a call for like the next 2 weeks. Our hairs on the back of our necks are standing up because we're worried. Hey, is it going to happen again? What can I do better? Do I need more units out here? It's it really does take a toll on people. Especially some of the things we see and deal with out here. Um, and again, I'm sorry I don't have a lot of time, but what I would like to see, and Jim pointed to this earlier, is that I would really like to see a lot more education being pushed about the move over law. And a lot of you know that Maryland was one of the last states to adopt that, and then it kept progressing to where it was only for police and fire. Then it went to tow trucks, and then it was to everybody that's on the shoulder with flashing lights, which I think is amazing. But from my experience, after every single time that I was hit, 3 of those times were on the shoulder, one of the times were in the roadway. Usually the first thing out of somebody's mouth is, I didn't know about the law. And again, in Maryland, it's been in effect for, I believe, about 12 years now. So again, I think education is the biggest push that I would really like to see, in education about move over law. And um, also it's very vague as far as like slow down and move over, as far as like the actual law, the way it's said that um it should be to a reasonable prudent speed if you're not able to get over. Some states, I believe, they say below 20 the posted limit. Um, but again, even if the speed limit is sometimes 70, 75 miles an hour, that's still pretty fast. So again, those are some things I would like to see pushed. Um, and again, I'll just go back to the point where it doesn't matter if the SSP is doing everything 100% right. The most dangerous part of our job is that we're trusting the public to do the right thing to protect us. So that's the biggest message that I have to say about that. Hopefully I touched on everything, but if not, I'll give it back to Kevin. I appreciate everybody's time.
Stephen, thank you so much. What a compelling story to be struck by and still go back every day and help motorists in need. We really give a big thank you for your continued service, for sharing your message of responder safety, and putting that really important human side and awareness to what we do. Thank you.
Thank you guys for hosting this. It really pushes the message out.
Okay, our next presenter is Roger Stryka. He's another seasoned first responder. Roger is a retired fire department captain and paramedic with over 25 years of service, and currently serves as the program manager for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation's CDL and TIM programs. Mr. Stryka organizes and conducts TIM training across the state and is the current chair of Oklahoma's TIM Coalition. Today, he'll share the story behind how Oklahoma now requires new drivers to take a course focusing on responder and road user safety before receiving their driver's license. Roger, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it very much. Next slide. Next slide. So in the year 2022, 710 Oklahomans were killed on our roadways, and the early estimate for 2023 is about another 700, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Additionally, more than 11,600 people were injured in crashes on Oklahoma roads in the year 2021. Now looking at Oklahoma's work zones in a 5-year span, excuse me, we had 91 road user deaths, including that of a road worker. We also had 1,455 injuries and 8,000 crashes in work zones. And ODOT and OTA have seen 72 work zone worker fatalities and many responders struck by fatalities as well. And just 2 months ago, Deputy Dwayne Chase of Sequoia County was struck by a car while responding and supporting Oklahoma Highway Patrol response to a fatality crash. Next slide. In looking at crashes in work zones, we saw that new team drivers had a significantly greater risk of crashes. More than 100 team drivers died in work zone crashes over the past 5 years on our state's highways and turnpikes. And we know the importance of establishing good driving behaviors from the start. That's why Oklahoma legislation introduced in January of 2023, House Bill 2018. This bill requires all teenagers to complete a free course approved by the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, focused on first responder and work zone safety. In April of 23, Governor Kevin Stitt signed the bill into law, and the law took effect on November 1 of 2023. As of November 1, all Oklahoma teens ages 15 to 18 are required to complete the free online course before they can apply for the Class D intermediate driver's license. Next slide. This new driver education requirement is called Work Zone Safe Program. In developing the Work Zone Safe Program, we worked collaboratively, including our Department of Transportation, our Turnpike Authority, State Highway Safety Office, Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Service Oklahoma, which is an entity that provides driver and motor vehicle services for the state, and the Oklahoma Association of General Contractors, a nonprofit organization for construction professionals. And this group worked with Tom Robbins and a consultant to deliver the Work Zone Safe program. The course teaches teens to be confident, capable, and safe drivers in work zones and around first responders. It introduces them to the faces behind the flags and flashing lights through photos, videos, and written content. And teens must watch videos in their entirety before proceeding further. The official online course can be accessed from a mobile device, a laptop, and there is an in-person version delivered across the state. It typically takes about 45 minutes to complete, and there are questions along the way to make sure teens are paying attention. Next slide. So what does Work Zone Safe course cover? Of course, it covers several good practices and laws for maneuvering around work zones. It also covers key responder safety elements. For example, it specifies that first responders include tow truck operators. It puts names and faces and family stories for responders struck and killed, including video testimonies. It includes tweets and posts like you see on the right that show by struck by crashes with responder vehicles with near miss events for responders. Next slide. The course also covers Oklahoma Slow Down, Move Over law. The Oklahoma Move Over law has been in place since 2002. In 2019, the law expanded to include any vehicle with flashing lights, including maintenance workers and cars with hazard flashing lights on. The law didn't protect motorists on the shoulder until help arrived, which we know are red and blue lights. So we made it effective when stationary vehicles with flashing lights were on the side of the road. In 2022, the Oklahoma Move Over law was approved by the Senate to be renamed as Bernardo's Law in memory of a tow truck driver struck and killed. In November of 2023, along with the Work Zone Safe course requirement, our state increased penalties for non-adherence to the law. While the course does go through its history, it does explain the law and why it exists and the penalties for not following the law. The course also includes the traditional highway safety, traffic safety administration visual to emphasize Oklahoma's Move Over law. Oklahoma drivers not changing lanes or slowing down for emergency vehicles, license wrecker, or any stationary vehicle with flashing lights can be charged $1,000 on the first offense and $2,500 for offense after that. Fines are significantly greater if the offense results in a responder injury or death. Next slide. So we're proud to be the first state to enact this driver education, focusing on safety of responders and road workers. We believe that this course helps teenagers learn from how to navigate work zones and can help cut down on confusion and potential risks. In the first year, more than 63,000 teenagers completed the program. And when teens complete the program, they're entered into a drawing for scholarships and other prizes. We believe this program keeps our Oklahoma roads safer for our responders, our road workers, our teen drivers, and all road users. And we're happy to share our experiences with other states considering a similar program. Back to you, Kevin.
Roger, thank you for sharing the new driver's ed requirements that focus on responder and road worker safety. We've seen similar required training in Wisconsin effective March of this year, which requires all approved driver education to provide at least 30 minutes of instruction in safely dealing with work zone and traffic incident hazards. We hope to see other states following suit with this training, focusing on responder and broader road worker safety. Our next speaker is Brian Webb, the state EMS training coordinator with the Alaska Department of Health. Brian has been in EMS since 1976, is a longtime advanced EMS educator and a frequent presenter at the state and national EMS conferences. In 2022, Brian was awarded the EMS Legislative Advocate of the Year Award for developing and supporting EMS legislation that has become law. Brian has proven to be a tremendous positive force for change in advancing responder safety in Alaska. We'll let Brian tell his story. Over to you, Brian.
Well, thanks, Kevin. And go ahead and click to my next slide, please. My one and only slide. And today, I'm really here to share Alaska EMS's journey towards making traffic incident management responder training really a requirement for initial licensure and relicensure for our Alaska EMS clinicians in our state. And, you know, although Alaska's had TIM instructors for some time, we currently rank 49th in the nation for TIM responder training implementation. And however, the Alaska Office of EMS views TIM responder training as foundational safety education for all our EMS clinicians. So with this goal in mind, and since we can implement training guidance without legislative changes, the Alaska Office of EMS proposed changes to updates to our licensing requirements effective in April of 2025. So starting with the 2026 through the 2028 relicensure cycle, all EMS clinicians must complete the 4-hour TIM responder training before relicensure. The course can be completed in person, online, or via hybrid methods that we use so much in EMS education now. And this 2-year cycle is going to allow us to reach all our current EMS clinicians in Alaska. And for the new EMS clinicians starting in April 1st of 2025, educators just need to inform students about the TIM responder training requirement for initial licensure. This is a separate requirement from the EMS entry-level course itself, meaning it won't impact course hours, and EMS educators won't be responsible for students' TIM completion. Instead, educators need only to provide the training links at the course's start. But as a safeguard, links to the training course and instructions to attach the completion certificate are also going to appear on initial and relicensure applications. And since we announced these new requirements in October of 2024, several services have reached out eager to use their in-house TIM instructors to meet this need. This new statewide requirement is already revitalizing interest in this crucial safety training. Still, Alaska is an ultra-rural state, and we have limited highway miles, less than the entire state of Rhode Island. And so given our unique setting, some in Alaska EMS have questioned the relevance of this highway-focused program. Our response simply is, TIM training provides foundational EMS safety skills valuable for any community response size. And whether responding in a $1 million apparatus, on a snow machine, a UTV, or a dog sled, the core principles of TIM apply. And those principles are safe vehicle operations during response and arrival, effective vehicle blocking, clear signaling, situational awareness, and minimizing exposure times on scene. These strategies are essential whether we're on one of Alaska's 3 major highways, a rural road curve, an unpaved intersection in a remote village, or on a wilderness trail. Our challenge is helping EMS clinicians see beyond the course's visuals and recognize how to adapt TIM training to fit their community's needs. That's why in our October 2024 policy letter, we highlighted the importance of applying TIM strategies across our varied response setting with what is locally available. And so we'll see how this messaging resonates. And I've also spoken with contacts at Federal Highway about developing a TIM responder course specifically tailored for Alaska's unique needs, one that minimizes the urban concerns for our more ultra-rural responders. Although there's no set timeline, there's a shared interest in creating an Alaska-centric TIM course by several services I've already talked to. And that's just the way Alaska EMS rolls. And in addition, we're working with Federal Highway to bring 2 8-hour TIM Train the Trainer courses to Alaska. And this will strengthen our capacity to deliver this essential training through in-person classes, although this planning's still underway and only preliminary at this point. So in a short time, Alaska has gone all in with projecting TIM training to help reduce first responder injury statistics, particularly those related to OSHA's top 10 injury risks, and those being struck by a moving object, collision with stationary objects, and motor vehicle accidents. So by making TIM responder training a licensure requirement, we're setting a new standard for EMS safety. And with support from our federal and Alaska DOT partners, we're prioritizing traffic incident management as a top safety initiative for Alaska EMS clinicians. So thank you for the opportunity to share Alaska's EMS TIM journey. And I appreciate Federal Highway's invitation to speak today and also to represent the most rural first responder state in our great nation. So back to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Brian. We know that the National TIM responder training is institutionalized in a number of states for various response disciplines, but I don't think we've ever seen this institutionalization happen this fast. So we look forward to working with you to focus the training for more rural settings, and this will benefit. We know this will benefit many other states as well.
You bet. Thanks,
Our next
Kevin.
speaker. Thank you again. So our next speaker is Jennifer Kirkland. She's the Colorado State 911 Program Manager. She has 23 years of experience in 911, including top leadership positions in 2 public safety answering point, PSAP, which are caller dispatch centers that receive and route 911 calls to emergency services. She's the governor-appointed 911 representative on Colorado's Standing Committee on Responders Safety. Over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited to tell you a little bit about the success that we've had in Colorado, bringing TIM training to first responders, including 911 professionals. In 2017, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper created the Governor's Task Force on Responder Safety after we tragically lost 3 troopers in a year due to secondary crashes. The original task force was led by Colorado State Patrol and included representatives from law enforcement, fire agencies, EMS agencies, 911 and communications, the towing industry, Colorado Department of Transportation, and municipal leadership, as well as participation from our federal partners at NHTSA and FHWA. Together, we developed a strategic plan and a mission statement: one scene, one culture, save lives. Our goals are to train together in traffic incident management, master quick clearance techniques, and educate the public when approaching roadside events. Since 2017, Colorado has developed TIM teams in every county. We've increased the number of TIM trainers statewide and held TIM training classes across the state, resulting in the Colorado State Patrol achieving 100% TIM trained across its ranks and bringing TIM training to responder agencies of all disciplines. As of September 2023, we've trained 13,803 responders, developed almost 400 TIM trainers, and trained over 9,500 personnel in person. We've held several annual safety conferences talking about a variety of safety topics. We've conducted a number of public education campaigns around the Slow Down, Move Over law and the Move Your Crash law, as well as work to raise awareness of public's role in keeping safe those working on the roadways. We developed a set of model policies and procedures incorporating TIM principles into every step of crash response, from notification to responder arrival to scene management to roadway reopening. We also opened a TIM test track in Douglas County so agencies from across the state can come and train together in real-world situations, practicing apparatus placement and vehicle removal in a variety of terrain. Through the TIM teams, we've conducted after-action reviews on incidents to find learning points and incorporate them into future responses. Field responder agencies learn to work together to achieve the mission of one scene, one culture, so that all responders work the scene with safety in mind and the goal of quick clearance as paramount. Agencies have also worked to incorporate technological advances to warn the public of crashes so they can plan alternate routes or slow down in the area. We are now called the Colorado Standing Committee on Responder Safety. We meet quarterly and continue to work on ways to get TIM training to all Colorado responders. We have a robust website with TIM resources, as well as public education resources responder agencies can use in their own departments. We have a TIM dashboard that tracks TIM training and safety efforts around the state. We've developed a TIM team toolkit, a one-stop place for all kinds of resources for the TIM teams across Colorado to use. We are currently working in partnership with the statewide traffic safety strategic planning effort so we can build TIM practices and responder safety into the plan from the beginning. We're also working on updating our TIM team workbook, a resource provided to agencies for use in the field. And as part of this update, we're developing an app that can be used in real time to incorporate TIM practices, as well as help responders with resources such as alternate routing for any roadway in the state and quick reference to their area's roadway crash management plan. I encourage you to browse our TIM website after the webinar. Next, please. As the 911 representative on the committee, I'm passionate about ensuring 911 is included in TIM training. Those of you who have taken the TIM class know that a large focus is about apparatus placement and training people on quick clearance techniques. But crashes start with notification to 911. And when 911 professionals are trained in TIM, they can keep the principles in mind from the moment of notification. This helps raise awareness of the challenges responders face, from crash location to removal considerations. As the first point of contact, 911 professionals can help remind drivers of move your crash laws if applicable. They can ask the right questions to get responders critical information from the beginning of the incident, such as specific location information surrounding an interchange. They can also ask questions regarding the types of vehicles involved and potential hazardous material involvement, which helps responders determine which apparatus to send. Effective scene management begins with the initial notification, and having 911 professionals trained in TIM ensures that these considerations and challenges are addressed as early as possible, contributing to quick clearance goals. Finally, as technology continues to advance, 911 professionals can facilitate transmitting video and pictures from citizens to responders. As Jim Ostrich outlined, some agencies are even incorporating drones into their response protocols to gain knowledge of the scene ahead of responder arrival. And 911 professionals can be involved in facilitating this technology as well. Next slide, please. This is an example of the Move Your Crash card developed for Colorado's 911 professionals. This card is designed to sit at each call-taking console and help remind 911 professionals to ask 2 questions when taking reports of crashes. Are there any injuries, and are drugs or alcohol involved? These 2 questions are the ones key to determining what is eligible for the Move Your Crash law in Colorado. So if the answer to both of these questions is no, then the crash qualifies under the Move Your Crash law, and the 911 professional is encouraged to tell the caller to move their crash off the roadway and advise where they will be so that responders can meet them. When applied, the Move Your Crash card can save responder lives by moving crashes out of active traffic, thereby reducing the chances for a secondary crash. This card is designed to work with, not interfere with, emergency medical dispatch protocols, as it can be used after protocols have been followed. We also developed an accompanying implementation card to help increase successful use. Next slide, please. By involving 911 professionals in your TIM team, including during after-action reviews and training your 911 professionals in TIM, we can decrease response time, increase responder safety, and continue to save lives on our roadways. I'm happy to speak further with anyone who has questions, and my contact information is on the screen. Thank you so much for your time today, and I wish you all a successful Crash Responder Safety Week. Thank you for all you do. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Jennifer. It'd be interesting to know how many other 911 operators have the prompt cards or the script and sort of a cheat sheet, as it were, to tell motorists how to move to a safer location off the travel lanes. So kudos to your work and to ensure that 911 operators are TIM trained. Colorado's made significant strides in the TIM and responder safety in the last few years with its one scene, one culture, saves lives focus. They also have been generous to make available many resources, from videos for responder safety to a toolkit for effective TIM committees and teams. So again, great shout out to Colorado. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so our next speaker is Jim Jennings. He's a member of the Towing and Recovery Association of America, and he'll speak about the Towing Museum's Wall of the Fallen. Jim?
Thank you, Kevin. Next slide, please. Hey, good afternoon. I wanted to welcome everyone here today and thank you for joining us on Crash Responder Safety Week on behalf of TRAA, the federal voice of the towing industry. If I don't know how many of you or many of you have ever been to the Towing Museum in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That is where we honor our industry. And Chattanooga, for those of you who may not know, is the birthplace of the tow truck towing industry in our nation. But at the Towing Museum in 2006, Friends of Towing got together and erected, it is a physical wall, erected the towing Wall of the Fallen, which obviously has a statue there to honor our operators and a nice little gathering area for people. Each fall, we honor our brothers and sisters, men and women who have lost their lives the previous year on the highways and roadways throughout our nation. We get together with us on a ceremony. We honor the families. We honor we honor the fallen by putting their names on the wall. It's a very emotional experience. I can tell you from experience, sadly, from my own company here in Florida, that we have two individuals' names on the wall, two of my friends, two of our operators. So for the families, it's really something to be able to go there, visit the wall, visit their loved ones, share with others across the country, network with people, and we have a fellowship for all of those people that are there because it is such an emotional experience, but it also gives them the opportunity to realize that they're not alone. There's people, whether it's from federal highway, from state, from local law enforcement, all other first responders and other families that are there to share this with them so that they have someone else that they know that they can reach out to help them deal with these terrible times. So, and if, at the Wall of the Fallen, when we do gather, it is an emotional day, but it's something that it's really needed and we do it, and it's a respectful day to honor the people that are on there. And we all know, the greatest loss of life in the first responder community, I believe on average, is a towing community. We lose about 65 people a year. And we're striving to constantly try to get that number down. TRAA, the Towing Museum, the towing community would like to see zero loss of life, zero responders. And we're all striving for that. And, we've talked about technology today from the other speakers, and we've embraced that also. Whether it's virtual training, whether it's lighting, paint schemes, reflective paint schemes, devices such as Haas Alert and those type of technologies that can help us to keep people safe. We're really trying to strive to get those numbers down, and with the help of other first responders, we know we can get that to happen and make that happen. So, and the International Towing Recovery Hall of Fame Museum and the Wall of the Fallen and the Survivor Fund, we also want to honor the other memorials that are out there. The National Firefighters Memorial, the National Law Enforcers Officers Memorial, and the National EMS Memorial Traveling Memorial. So if you're in Chattanooga, please visit the museum, visit the wall, pay your respects. And we just like to ask everyone to please slow down and move over. And Kevin, back to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Jim. So we know that more than 30 responders have lost their lives this year. Firefighters and EMS, police officers, towers, safety service patrol responders, and road service technicians. And we collectively work every day so that no more names are added to the Wall of the Fallen and the National Firefighters Memorial and the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. This is why we commemorate Crash Responder Safety Week. So we'd like to take a moment of silence now for our fellow responders who have paid the ultimate price. All right, thank you everyone for participating in the moment of silence. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Ostrich to share how we can move forward together in saving responder lives. Jim?
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say before I get into the next slides that we're on a trend downward. And I think in terms of line of duty deaths, starting back from 21, where we had a high of 65 in 2021, 22 was 51, 23 was 45, and right now we're right around 35 with a month and a half left. So just to remind everyone of the importance of the National TIM Responder Training. It's not the magic bullet or, be all end all to the problem that are really the D drivers, the drunks, the distracted, the drugged, the drowsy. But I'm hoping that we end up in 2024 under 45. So let's everyone do our part and promote the TIM training. So thank you for letting me share that. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the Everyday Counts 7. Next Gen TIM, Technologies for Saving Lives, of which TIM, you heard me earlier, TIM is part of the National Roadway Safety Strategy, Safe Systems Approach, Post-Crash Care for EMS, our office, Federal Highway, working alongside the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, who were mandated under the NRSS to achieve certain improvements that are depicted here in this graphic, as you can see. And we're very much a part of it. That training that you heard Brian Webb from the state of Alaska EMS mention, and an overall strong initiative to train in particular the EMS community, paramedics and EMTs, clinicians, etc., on traffic incident management, along with all the other responders, right? Law enforcement, fire, rescue, tow and recovery, public works, and transportation. So next slide. Here to the right, need I say these out loud? These should all make sense and come to all of you. Strong TIM programs that exist in most states, I'd say a majority of states across the nation, involve not just the training, but also intelligent transportation systems and other technologies and resources. These 6 focus areas, as I mentioned, that are part of the EDC 7 Next Gen TIM, these are the ones that we're working on right now with 40 states, actually 40 states that signed up to do some level of work, I guess, focus on at least one of these technologies, and more importantly, to advance from the level of not implemented all the way up to institutionalization. So we've been working very hard, and this is the second year of this 2-year project, by the way, for EDC 7 Next Gen TIM. And real quick now, next slide. Technology advanced warning is one of them. And you can see what advanced warning includes. Any one of these 6 areas: responder to vehicle alerts. You've heard of the HOS alerts and Make Way and ICONE. You probably heard of the commercial vehicle electronic logging devices and the work of the association of those devices with DriveWise, which is an electronic in-cab system to alert commercial motor vehicle operators of upcoming congestion and hopefully, and it has other capabilities, but one of the big ones is advanced warning of congestion. Wearable devices like the what is it called? Oh gosh, I forget the name of the device now that you wear on your lapel. That you thank you, Paul. Guardian Angel device, sequential flares, the electronic highlights, and um, anyway, rotating message boards and arrow panels, which you might think, well, wait a minute, haven't those been around forever? And the answer is no. Fully rotational message boards and arrow panels on a truck is a big deal because the truck doesn't have to be perfectly oriented. And of course, enhanced traveler information. A big favorite of mine, back to now go ahead, go to the next slide, debris removal. A big favorite of mine, and Paul and Joe, and I'm sure many of you that are on here that are familiar with the technology that is debris removal systems. Here's 4 examples of those technologies. And you got debris clear, you got jaws, you got lane blade, and what else? There's a couple others. You'll have to forgive my my senior moments occasionally here. Anyway, big deal because this prevents a driver from having to get out of a vehicle to remove a ladder or some other type of debris. So these types of systems are really taking off across the nation and are worth every penny that of their cost. So next slide, next slide, next technology, smart emergency vehicle lighting. I saw that Master Sergeant Tom Brengel's on with us today from Illinois, who has been a huge advocate for the Illinois State Police and involved in smart emergency vehicle lighting, as we are, because it really makes a difference as response agencies are able to retrofit or order new vehicles with the technology, the smart emergency vehicle lighting technology. Next slide. Emergency vehicle preemption, which has been around for 20 plus years, but today there's a much higher level, more sophisticated system that's available, that's out there, that some states are using, municipalities that include the I guess the integration of traffic management centers with the traffic signal sensors and the cloud-based systems for emergency response. Next slide. You've heard mentioned today several times. Jennifer Kirkland mentioned it earlier, the use of unmanned aerial systems or unmanned aerial aircraft vehicles is a big deal, being used quite a bit for not only crash reconstruction purposes by law enforcement, but also by for a variety of other purposes, for congestion management and queue management, queue warning, and obviously other natural disasters, for monitoring weather events and doing infrastructure, what I call asset management inspections for bridges, etc. So Tim, UAS is still very much alive and will be, I'm sure, for a long time. Next slide. So you heard me mention already the TIM technologies for EMS to support post-crash care, and that is high on our list, and we're working very hard with a number of states, and you will hear you will hear more about this as we continue to move the ball down the road. What Brian Webb did in Alaska through his Department of Health, I believe it's our 4th or 5th state that has actually done what he's done, which is quickly move to mandate or require the TIM training for licensing or relicensing purposes. And we very much encourage any of you, if you have that influence and that ability to influence your leadership, please do so and let us know how we can help. Next slide. This is a little bit about the funding. Many of you, I'm sure, on this webinar are familiar with 2 of the main ones that Paul, Joe, and I in our office promotes, which is the stick funding there, which is up to $125,000 a year every year that states can apply for. And I will tell you that in 2024, I think we had close to 15 states. We had a huge jump in the number of states that finally, took advantage of this. You don't have to apply for all 125. Some of them are using it for equipment. Some of it even, some states even use the funding to purchase debris removal systems. So there's opportunities there. That is not a huge lift, but every year it comes out, and your state, working with your state stick point of contact through the Federal Highway Division office, you can accomplish that. Similarly, for a lot more money, if you want to pursue a bigger deployment of a technology, if you will, and these have to be proven technologies. They can't be research related. These have to be technologies or equipment, what have you, that are already in use, by the way. And the aid demonstration program funds up to $1 million, a little bit heavier lift, but I'm happy to report that, for example, Arkansas managed to get approved to purchase debris removal systems to use statewide, and deploying one in each of their maintenance yards. And I think there's a couple of others. I know Delaware was applying for funding. I know the state of Pennsylvania applied for funding for, I believe, their ATMS system, expansion of their ATMS in the state. So take advantage of these, and there's a link down there at the bottom. And again, Paul, Joe, or I are here, are willing to help you. Next slide. And so we're back to the Mentimeter and signing the proclamation. If you haven't already, please, let's see, TN's link does not work. TN's link does not work. I'm not sure who TN is. Is that Tennessee? This link is this proclamation, by the way, is going to remain available to sign. All of you and many others, hopefully, that are listening or hear about it from you. We're looking for as many people across this land to sign. And okay, well, here's a shot of the ongoing signatures from all of you. Kevin, were you going to jump in here?
Yeah, I can jump in and bring it to a close, Jim.
Please do, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jim, for bringing us to that. And as you're signing the proclamation, as Jim said, it'll be open for some time. We just wanted to, in conclusion, give a big thank you to our FHWA Acting Administrator, Kristen White, our sister agencies, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration for helping shape the kickoff webinar, including Keith Williams, Dave Bryson, Brian Tetmeyer, and others. Every individual who attended the Crash Responder Safety Week All States Planning webinars, the National Crash Responder Safety Week Committee, which includes the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, or AASHTO, the American Public Works Association, APWA, Andrea Ailes and Mark Shade, International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP, Colonel Matt Perry, Alex Lepley, and Colonel Mike Rappick, International Association of Fire Chiefs, IAFC, Chief Norris Kroom, the International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, Grady Valencia and Samantha Gaines, Institute of Transportation Engineers, ITE, Matt Hardy, Doug Noble, and Dale Picha, National Association of State EMS Officials, Dia Gaynor, National EMS Management Association, Charles Blankenship, the National Sheriff's Association, retired Sheriff John Wetzel, National Volunteer Fire Council, NVFC, Sarah Lee, the Eastern Transportation Coalition, Trish Hendren and Cheryl Bradley, the Towing and Recovery Association of America, TRAA, Cindy Martineau, and the support team, including the National, including the NOCO, AEM, and Cambridge Systematics. And with that, this webinar is closed. Please do sign the proclamation when you get a chance. Thank you, everyone.
We will be keeping this webinar open for another 3 to 5 minutes so that it allows everyone to continue to sign the proclamations. And as Jim Ostrich and Kevin Sylvester noted, please share that proclamation link, the 8-digit Menti code or the QR code, with your colleagues, your friends, your coworkers, your bosses, even your neighborhood, so that they understand and become aware of Crash Responder Safety Week and sign the proclamation. And Jim, I'm not sure if you were paying attention, but we got significant traction in the last few hours as far as governor's proclamation. We're up to 15 proclamations at this point. And so if you'd like, I can share the screen here. If we've missed your state's proclamation, please use this QR code, which is the Ally in Action QR code, or send it directly to Jim Ostrich, james.ostrich@dot.gov, so that we have captured the great work in your state, whether it's a governor's proclamation or a mayoral proclamation or a county executive proclamation or any other sort of proclamation for Crash Responder Safety Week. Please do share it with the Federal Highway Administration's Traffic Incident Management team. And with that, we wanted to share one other thing, which are some of the creative things that agencies do to commemorate Crash Responder Safety Week. For example, Wisconsin Department of Transportation lights their Hohen Bridge and displays the many responder organization vehicles to demonstrate to the community en masse that this is Crash Responder Safety Week. And there are some organizations like the Maryland Department of Transportation that had Thank a Safety Responder Day that was held this weekend with various response vehicles and responders there to meet the community at large. And you see on the bottom is a message from the American Public Works Association president, Dominique Longobardi, who talks about Crash Responder Safety Week through their online web presence. So with that, we'll come back again to the National CRSW proclamation signing Mentimeter and turn it back over to you. Kevin or Jim, any last messages?
Kevin, anything else pop into your mind?
Nothing I can say that hasn't been said already. That's great news about the governor's proclamations and some of the creative things that the states are doing. And we really thank everyone for being so dedicated to this effort. As we've said, it's an ongoing effort. I think we've shown a lot of progress. So that's really encouraging. And I think I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah. Kevin, can I ask David Johnson, our team leader, for managing disruptions to operations? David, any words?
No, you guys covered it very well. I really appreciate everybody hopping on, and I think it's a great effort. So really looking forward to our continued discussion through the week. And the executive leadership group will be meeting on Wednesday. So looking forward to those discussions as well. So great job with the webinar, and thanks everybody for attending.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Be safe.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you to
Michelle.
our wonderful presenters.
Yeah, especially our presenters too.
So Kevin Vita, feel free to leave the webinar link on for another 3 to 5 minutes to see if there's any other proclamation signatures on the virtual CRSW proclamation.
Yeah, another big shout out. Thank you to Kevin Vita and Adam Hops, the National Operations Center of Excellence. I know they were already mentioned, but we couldn't do it without you guys as well.
All right. And we see that there are a couple of folks that have said, hey, we're on the list. And so, yes, absolutely. We know that ITE is on that list for the Ally in Action for Crash Responder Safety Week. And so we couldn't get everyone on the list that we shared, but it will be made accessible after the fact as well. So I think this is the list we're talking about. Or nope, ITE is already here actually.
It
So
is. I
ITE
made
is
mention of it.
on
Thank
the
you.
list. Yes. Okay. Well, I think we're about done. I don't see more response. Oh, I do. We've gone up to 94 responses on the proclamation signing. We were at about 60 a few moments ago. So we'll maybe keep it open for one more minute. Oh, okay. I see there's a question on how can I sign the proclamation. Shula, would you please go ahead and put the link for the Menti so that those that missed it in the beginning can still join and sign the proclamation. There we go. Thank you, Shula. All right.
Okay, thanks again, Vishali and Shula and everyone. I'm signing off.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. You can close the webinar at this point.